Welcome to Gossip She Wrote. Now that we know Penelope is Lady Whistledown, let's take a look at everything she wrote about the ton. Grosvenor Square, 1813. Dearest reader, the time has come for us to place our bets for the upcoming social season. Consider the household of the Baron Featherington. Three misses foisted upon the marriage market like sorrowful sows by their tasteless, tactless mamma. Far better odds might exist in the household of the widowed Viscountess Bridgerton, a shockingly prolific family noted for its bounty of perfectly handsome sons and perfectly beautiful daughters. How very perfect indeed. Today is a most important day, and for some a terrifying one. For today is the day that London's marriage-minded misses are presented to Her Majesty the Queen. May God have mercy on their souls. It is only the Queen's eye that matters today. A glimmer of displeasure and a young lady's value plummets to unthinkable depths. But as we know, the brighter a lady shines, the faster she may burn. It has been said that of all bitches, dead or alive, a scribbling woman is the most canine. If that should be true, then this author would like to show you her teeth. My name is Lady Whistledown. You do not know me, and rest assured, you never shall. But be forewarned, dear reader, I certainly know you. The season's opening ball at Danbury House is a most highly sought-after invitation indeed. For every darling debutante from Park Lane to Regent Street will be on display. Titled, chaste and innocent, this is what they have been raised and trained for since birth. Tonight we will discover which young ladies might succeed at securing a match, thereby avoiding the dreadful, dismal condition known as the spinster. Dearest reader, this author finds herself compelled to bear the most curious of news. It seems our diamond requires a further inspection. As such, an even rarer jewel of only the most remarkable brilliance, fire, and lustre has been unearthed. Her name, unknown to most, yet soon known to all, is Miss Marina Thompson. This author is left to wonder whether Her Majesty might reconsider the high praise she once afforded Miss Bridgerton. For we all must know what the Queen despises more than anything being wrong, and the drawing room at Bridgerton House currently appears to be emptier than the muddle head of her dearest King George. It follows that Lady Featherington is to receive what she has always desired, the season's true incomparable living under her own roof. She must be overjoyed. Ambitious mammas, rejoice, for the new Duke of Hastings continues to grace our fair city with his presence. And oh, what an impressive presence it is. It should be noted that the Duke has been overheard announcing to mammas everywhere that he has no plans of ever marrying. The author wonders which brazen matchmake shall rise to such a challenge, for this competition is well underway. It has reached my ears that Mr. Colin Bridgerton shall be awarded the year's grand prize when he sweeps Miss Thompson off her pretty little slipped feet. In other news, a most peculiar suitor for Miss Daphne Bridgerton has emerged. Be it shame or slander, seduction or smear, there is but one thing that humbles even the most highly regarded members of our dear ton, a scandal. Well, dear reader, it should seem that all of Grosvenor Square has been left to ponder a rather scandalous question indeed. Might one former diamond's recent fall from grace turn out to be the most damning scandal of all? For those not in attendance at the Vauxhall celebration, you missed the remarkable coup of the season. It appears Miss Daphne Bridgerton has captured the interest of the newly returned Duke of Hastings. How the young miss secured her newfound suitor is yet to be determined. Yet, if anyone shall reveal the circumstances of this match, it is I, yours truly, Lady Whistledown. There will forever be just two words that come to this author's mind the morning after any good party: shock and delight. Well, dear reader, the scandalous accounts from last night's soirée at Vauxhall are quite shocking and delightful indeed. Emerging, phoenix-like from ashes of irrelevance, is one Miss Daphne Bridgerton. The illustrious debutante was seen dancing not once, but twice with the season's most reliable and most uncatchable rake, the Duke of Hastings. This author has thought the heart a most curious of instruments, heading neither reason nor rank. For what possible explanation might Miss Bridgerton have for entertaining the suit of a mere baron when she seems to have secured a duke? Could the debutante's mind not be the only thing amiss? Let it be known, dear reader, that if this bizarre behaviour portends yet another scandal, then be sure that I shall uncover it. For there is nothing like an excursion into nature to lift the spirits and loosen the tongue. It has come to this author's attention that the Ton is abuzz with the most sordid tale. It is said that one cannot judge a book by its cover, but in the case of the bumbling Baron Berbrook, it seems his displeasing appearance is quite an apt metaphor for the state of affairs in his household. I would not be surprised if Lord Berbrook were called away to the country on alleged business which, perhaps, might involve sending some much overdue funds to one former maid and young boy, who we can only hope takes after his mother. Dearest gentle reader, it is often said that those who marry in haste must repent at leisure, a sentiment that is clearly shared by Miss Daphne Bridgerton, who has apparently rejected not one, not two, but 3 proposals already this week. Some believe she is showing admirable forethought in her deliberations, but I would venture a different conjecture, that she, like this author, is still waiting on the only suitor of note. I have always thought that an appreciation of the arts is what lifts us beyond mere animals. It stirs the passions and moves the spirit, and, this author hopes, inspires more newsworthy pursuits. A new wing at Somerset House is to be opened today, where several attractions will be on display, like the Love Miss Marina Thompson, newly recovered from her mysterious illness and expected to finally rejoin the season. Of course, there is today's royal attraction as well, Prince Friedrich of Prussia. His Highness has come to our shores in want of a fine Fräulein. Could this be the reason a certain language tutor has been seen visiting Cowper House all week? These days, the modern young lady must display a miscellany of talents in her quest for suitor. She must be a witty conversationalist, an accomplished musician, and an expert in the art of the swoon. For managing to faint with nary a petticoat out of place is a most coveted talent indeed. Of course, not everyone has fallen victim to the royal fever sweeping through London town. One diamond in particular seems quite immune, making this author wonder if the crown has lost its lustre. Could it be true, the season's diamond even more precious and rare a stone than previously thought? For it now appears this treasure is set to join the likes of the Queen's ever-so-cherished crown jewels themselves. The Duke of Hastings, I hear, was left looking rather tongue-tied last night, as Miss Bridgerton seems to have finally grown tired of waiting for him to pose that all-important question. Or perhaps the young miss has simply traded up. Surprising? Quite. Unreasonable? Of course not. After all, why settle for a duke when one can have a prince? In a town filled with ambitious mommers and fortune-hunting gentlemen, marrying above one's station is an art form, indeed. But Miss Daphne Bridgerton's advance from future duchess to possible princess is an achievement that even this jaded author must applaud. Though this author cannot dismiss the Duke of Hastings quite so soon. He may have let the diamond slip through his fingers for now, but I shall wager he is not a man to ever hide from a fight. As we all know, there is nothing this author loves more than a scandal, and tonight's soirée promises more than its fair share, courtesy of the recently widowed Lady Trowbridge. Some may call her celebrations too provocative, and I would caution any young lady from getting caught up in the sensual nature of her fates. For one scandalous move between an unwed couple, a wayward touch, or heaven forbid, a kiss, would banish any young lady from society in a trail of ruin. One may say modesty is a virtue, yet this author is hardly a virtuous woman. It is therefore my great pleasure to announce the news others questions, but I never doubted. The diamond of the season has made her match, officially betrothed to the Duke of Hastings. The bridge, undoubtedly, is giddy with anticipation of the impending nuptials, an event that will apparently take place sooner than later. Of course, there are only 2 reasons to procure a special license and a race to the altar: true love or concealing a scandal. Dearest gentle reader, I must send felicitations to the new Duke and Duchess of Hastings. Congratulations and stamina as they embark on the most exhilarating time in a young couple's life. I am, of course, talking of the honeymoon. is there a more romantic notion to retreat from society together, finally leaving watchful eyes behind? While this author, along with the rest of the ton, will certainly miss its most remarked upon couple back in London, perhaps we might find solace in the promise of the Duke and Duchess returning to us bearing a surprise. All is fair in love and war, but some battles leave no victor, only a trail of broken hearts that makes us wonder if the price we pay is ever worth the fight. The ones we love have the power to inflict the greatest scars. For what thing is more fragile than the human heart? The bond between man and bride is private, scared. But I must tell you, I have learned that a grave fraud is afoot. As if the Featheringtons did not have enough to be dealing with. Miss Marina Thompson is with child, and she has been from the very first day she arrived in our fair city. Desperate times may call for desperate measures, but I would wager many will think her actions beyond the pale. Perhaps she thought it her only option, or perhaps she knows no shame. But I ask you, can the ends ever justify such wretched means? Miss Marina Thompson's recent fall from grace continues to echo through every drawing room in town. Days after it was revealed, her engagement to Bridgerton was nothing more than a sham. Of course, a lady's disgrace does not merely tarnish her own name. Like the tars of the Thames, it also leaves a horrid smear on anyone nearby. While there is no parasol in the world strong enough to shelter a ruined woman, the fallen Miss Thompson can only hope she shall find refuge somewhere. Dearest reader, a question. Is anything more exhilarating than taking a gamble? For it is often the highest risk that carries the greatest reward. Yet, wager wrongly, and you might find yourself left with nothing but regret. Of course, one can never know for sure whether a wager will make a fortune or ruin it, unless one chooses a more secure pursuit. But as the season continues, the biggest gamblers have yet to truly show their hand, which leaves gossip in short supply in recent days. In fact, this author can think of no other event that merits a mention. It is worthy of note, however, that the Duke and Duchess of Hastings have yet to entertain callers together. Our newlyweds are no doubt still secluded in nuptial bliss. Who could fault them, and who could be surprised if their diligent efforts are rewarded with a new arrival within the year? The fastest courtship upon record occurred during the markedly wet season of 1804, when Miss Mary Leopold secured a betrothal over a plate of sugared almonds and licorice in just 4.5 minutes. Of course, Miss Leopold and her new husband would leave London mere hours after their wedding. Reason unknown. Of all that I have imparted to you, dear reader, there is but one bit of wisdom you must heed most. One can never know the truth of a marriage hiding behind closed doors. Beware, indeed, blushing newlyweds. You know not the future that awaits. Will there be hardship or indigity? Or will one's future see the rarest accomplishment of all, a true love match? As for which of these fates await the eager matches of the season of 1813, only two things will tell. Time and, as always, this author. The final ball of any season is distinguished by one of two things: anticipation or dread. For, while those who have been successful in the year's marriage market look forward to flaunting their perfect, joyous unions, others shudder at the thought of spending one last night before the discerning eyes of the ton. As they know, indeed, just what the evening signifies, that their time is officially up. And yet, to those who may still find themselves out of both choices and hope, fear not. For who knows when and where one's fortune may change. If there is to ever be a grander finish to a season than the one provided by the Duke and Duchess of Hastings this year, this author will need to feast upon her own words. For it was this couple's memorable affair that brought another scandalous London season to a close. As many now leave the city behind for greener pastures, some endings seem more permanent than others. Of course, there are other endings that will offer new beginnings, however uncertain those new beginnings might be. And yet there is no ending in sight for this author, who recently became aware of a scheme to unmask her by one worthy opponent. Indeed, perhaps I will come forward one day. Though you must know, dear reader, the decision shall be left entirely up to me. Yours truly, Lady Whistledown. Dearest gentle reader, did you miss me? As the members of our esteemed ton lazily sojourned in their rustic retreats, the author was doing but one thing: honing my skills. Or should I say, hatching my plans? No, even better, I was sharpening my knives for all of you. Questions abound as to this author's identity and means. Seeking those answers shall prove fruitless indeed. There is, of course, another unknown identity at present, though this one you will be able to unearth. I speak of the season's diamond, wherever she may be. Your move, your majesty. There is nothing quite like the sweet-scented smell of success. But after taking in the scene from last night's festivities, it is clear the season won't be quite so fragrant for everyone. The Viscount Bridgerton's own mamma may have loudly declared her eldest son's lofty intentions to marry. Yet I cannot be the only one wondering if this former capital R Rake is, indeed, ready to flourish. Perhaps the Viscount, like the rest of us, is simply waiting for the Queen to finally name her diamond. Or perhaps this author should take matters into her own hands. Though, of the many purportedly well-trained and bred heart-house flowers on display this year, this author must wonder if a more surprising choice might still be store. Whichever darling miss receives such high esteem, let us hope there is a suitor available of only Tate's sharpest wit, lest his dry musings leave a young lady wilting like a parched rose. Formed under pressure, desired by many, yet possessed only by a fortunate few, there is nothing on earth quite so envied as a diamond. Might our Queen finally extinguish the fevered speculation and bestow the highest of honours to a most fortunate young lady tonight? With so many futures at risk, I do suspect this author is not the only one waiting with bated breath. Colour, clarity, carrot, cut. At long last, the Queen has named her most precious stone. While this author finds Miss Edwina Schommer to be an exceptional young lady, it is about time I used these pages or record for something else. A shift. Is the entire practice of naming a diamond not, well, rather ridiculous? Should a woman not be valued for so much more than her dancing skills or her comportment? Should we not value a woman instead for her candor, her character, her true accomplishments? Perhaps if the Queen abandoned this absurdity that is the diamond, we would all see that a woman can be so much more. Dearest reader, it has been said that competition is an opportunity for us to rise and stand ready before our greatest challenges. Well, if what this author hears this morning is true, then a great challenge concerning this season's diamond has been set forth indeed. Any suitor wishing to gain an audience with Miss Edwina Schommer must first tame the rather prickly spinster of a beast otherwise known as her sister. Of course, the only competition that compels my attention is the game of courtship. So best of luck to this year's players. Do try not to stumble on the starting line. There are two things that lurk within the dark and shadowy places of our fair city: vermin and secrets. I shall leave it to you, dear reader, as to which do the most harm. One has to wonder what secrets the season's diamond is holding near and dear to her heart. And who shall she choose to share them with? The Viscount Bridgerton, perhaps. At least the elder Schommer's opinion on such a matter is certainly no secret at all. To be fair, one might call this author the biggest secret sharer of all. For who else could possibly keep all of you honest when even the most well-kept of secrets must eventually come to light? We all know the great lengths a young lady will go in pursuit of a proposal, and apparently she will travel great distances too. Lord Anthony Bridgerton appears to be inching ever so closer to selecting his Viscountess, and to that end has invited our diamond to join him for an excursion at his ancestral home, Aubrey Hall. Country air indeed clears the mind and invigorates the body. Might this be the final gust that pushes the Viscount over the precipice of a proposal? Of course, the luckless souls remaining in town will have to find new diversions in the absence of their most precious of stones. An artist must be free to follow their muse, but it appears the ton has fallen prey to the fickleness of fashion. For how else might one explain the tawdry, dare I say vulgar, gown sported lately by Miss Cressida Cowper? Mayfair's newest modiste has one thing, and one thing only: going for her she is new, whereas Madame de Lacroix might be old, but at least she is capable. Of course, not everyone can always get things so right, though I do suppose for some, it may be simply too late to change course and undo any damage. If the ancient Greeks were members of the ton, they might have added to their Olympic pentathlon one additional event, the hosting of a country visit. This, of course, is the week of Lady Bridgerton's annual Hearts and Flowers Ball, the year's most coveted invitation in the country, and no event better designed to show the might and mettle of its host. Dearest gentle reader, while much occurred at the Bridgerton country visit, this author feels not all is fit to print, especially when so much is already known by far too many members of the ton. But if you thought we would reach the end of this journey without this trusted author finding a truly delectable morsel of gossip, then you are sorely mistaken. While Prudence Featherington seems to have secured her match, it was not the only occurrence of note. Anthony Bridgerton is now betrothed to Miss Edwina Sharma. Victory indeed. The frenzy of competition, the thrilling delight of hazarding your all. I am referring not to the lure of London's luxurious gaming halls, but to a gamble with far higher stakes. Matrimony. For once that particular wager is placed, it cannot easily be undone. A fact which I am sure is met with both regret and sheer relief. Duty. More than laws or faith, I have often thought it the bond that holds our fragile society together. Duty to rank and title, fidelity to one's family name. It demands both utter obedience and total sacrifice. But what happens when such duty is in conflict with the heart's true desire? Why, then, there is the potential for a considerable scandal indeed. The only question is, will the parties in question heed my warning? Or is it already too late to turn back to duty and away from desire? A march down the aisle may very well be the longest walk any young lady ever takes. It does not simply cover the length of the church, but rather countless floors for dancing and meandering paths for every afternoon promenade too. It is a wonder then that feet do not tire or, heaven forbid, trip under the scrutiny of all those attentive eyes keeping close watch. Indeed, it is a distinctly human act to marry. Animals require no contracts or dowries. The hen and the rooster make no vows. Leave it to people to complicate matters with their ceremonies and their cakes. Is it not a wonder that anyone marries at all? Indeed, some may call a wedding the ultimate act of faith, while others would venture that it is the ultimate act of fools, eagerly awaiting two words: I do. Bride and groom declare intention alone, with no guarantee of happiness. Marriage amounts to little more than human ritual. We may not force the rooster or hen, yet we continue to collect eggs. Does that make us more complicated, or simply too stubborn to believe that we must orchestrate what nature has already ordained? A jilted groom, a broken-hearted bride-to-be, a royal wedding in shambles. Sensational? Quite, but true? This author may traffic in chatter and speculation, dear reader, but misinformation? Never. Explanations of why Miss Edwina absconded from the altar may be greater in number than anyone could possibly fathom. But we must not forget, it was Her Majesty the Queen who placed the young miss on that special stage so that she could make her grand exit. Allow this author to hope for Her Majesty's sake, as well as both the Sharmas and Bridgertons, that an official explanation emerges swiftly, lest the ton are run away by their tawdry imaginings. What is it about betrayal that excites us so? The ton itself has certainly felt its peculiar kind of frenzy after the promise of the wedding to end all weddings was broken. Yet this author has it on very good authority that the Viscount's failed nuptials may not be the only betrayal our dear Bridgertons must manage at present. Should our lives be distilled down to the sum total of our choices, then Miss Eloise Bridgerton has certainly made a dangerous, perhaps ruinous one, for she's apparently been associating unchaperoned with improper company. Political radicals, in fact. It might be that the young miss spent a great deal of time considering her decisions, or perhaps they were made in haste. Whatever the case may be, we all must remember, as one makes one's bed, so one must lie in it. It has been said that silence can wield more power than words. No one knows that better than me. It is in silence where one may find truth. All one has to do, I suppose, is listen for it. I know there will always be times when silence is necessary, and of course, times when it is not. Gentle reader, you thought I was silenced, but you thought wrong. And if there is one thing you should know by now, it is that this author cannot keep quiet for long. Yours truly, Lady Whistledown. We'll cover Season 3 in a separate video, so please like and subscribe to be notified when it posts.